And so after that event, I was a little bit like overstimulated because after an event, if you already know, like welcome back to the She Cultivates podcast. My name is Elizabeth Savillon, and thank you for joining me on another episode. Here we talk about all things cultivating our best selves and community as women, and I'm just so thankful that you're here. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this podcast and leave a review. All of that helps us to grow, and honestly, I love hearing your feedback. We're almost at our 5 years of having a podcast this summer, and so if you are an Orlando girl and you want to come and celebrate with us, make sure to buy your ticket because we have our podcast live / party on Friday, June 27th. So we are doing a whole event with vendors. We're going to have merch. We're going to have a great time, intentional conversation, and a time for you to meet other like-minded women. We are super excited because this is something that I cannot believe that we're getting to this milestone, and this is just a small part of a bigger thing that's happening this year. So I would love for you to join us that day to celebrate with us, and it will be a great time. I will also include a discount code if you are a listener of this podcast so that you can tune in, come with a friend, or come alone, and I'm so excited to see you. On this week's episode, we will be talking about romanticizing your life, bringing joy in everyday small things. Something that I do on social media monthly. I used to do it very much more often, like weekly or every 2 weeks. It's the little joys of the week. And so that would include, the coffee that I got that week, the walk, the sunset, something that I did that just brought me joy, something that I read or listened to, time with a friend that I really enjoyed, or time with my niece. And those were like little joys in a season that I felt a lot of a mix of grief and joy that were happening at the same time, which I think that they can coexist. Like you could be going through a hard season, but also have joyful moments. And that's actually a season that I'm kind of going through right now. And it's been a mix of great things happening, but also my own certain grieving that I'm going through, certain adjustments that I'm going through. And so finding joy in the small things is so important because life can be hard. There can be seasons that are difficult that you're navigating through. And sometimes we wait until like the big moments. We may wait until like, okay, like when I go on that trip, that is a joy. But like my everyday going to work, I hate it. Maybe sometimes it's I'm waiting for that promotion, or I'm waiting for to get into that house. But you have a beautiful home, that you have right now. And so reframing that has been essential to navigating the ebbs and flows of life. And so in the past few weeks, it's been kind of reframing those things and like doing little things that spark joy. And so what can that look like? That can mean that maybe you're like, okay, like this is a hard season that I'm walking through, and I don't know what that looks like. So for you, I would recommend maybe journaling for yourself and being like, okay, what sparks joy right now? What is something that I can do each day that brings me joy? That it can be watching a comfort show, it can be calling a friend, it can be journaling a little bit. And what are those things that can reframe that narrative? Sometimes it's as easy as, instead of saying, I have to do this, is like, I get to do this today. I have had a hard week, but today I had a great conversation with someone. I got to a goal that I wanted to this week. And sometimes, again, it can be not the biggest things. It can be small things that you start appreciating. You start just being intentional, about the things that you're doing in life. And so that has been something that has been a rewiring, I would say, of things that I used to always think of like, no, I have to wait until I get here, or I have to have like a big collage of moments, of a trip that I did like last year. I didn't get to travel because of just personal reasons. It was just things that I was navigating through. And I remember being like, it would be so nice to be in Mexico right now. And that's where I would be happy, like on a beach. And I had to find the little joys. And that has been like my just motto, like finding the little joys, like the glimmers of joy within your everyday, the gift that you have to breathe, to have a new day, to be able to just have an opportunity to do something new, to be around family, to be around friends, because we forget that in the mundane moments, in the everyday moments, the rush that we have. I was talking to someone before this on a podcast of like, sometimes we just get so stuck in the routine, the hardness of things, that we forget about the little joys. And so when I think about romanticizing your life, right? This was like a trend on social media that it was like, when you're getting your coffee, like set it up. Like set it up and do this whole thing where you make a fresh batch of coffee, you put your cute mug, you have music playing. It's like a whole experience, because I feel like those are the little moments that matter. Like when you go, something that I do weekly, I go get fresh flowers. So fresh flowers for me is just a thing that brings joy to my room. It brings joy to my home. It just brings me happiness, like doing arrangements. And so that is something that I have created, that even though I may be having a hard week, or I may be having those moments where I feel a little bit like, yeah, things are not going the way that I wanted them to, or yeah, it's a little frustrating season, or I feel a little bit sad or disconnected. And so those are things that I have added to my routine to spark joy, and actually does something for your brain. And just doing little simple things like that, like going on a walk outside, seeing the sunset. And I'm like, wow, like, thank you, Lord, for this day. Like, thank you that we got through this day. And it's like you painted a picture, for me. And sometimes people think that you have to be a very positive person to have that mindset, but I don't think you do. I think it's rewiring yourself to, versus always going to the negative of things, or when you have those negative thoughts, it's like saying the positive, or and it's not about toxic positivity. It's more of like, you can feel that feeling, right? But you don't let it control you, or you don't let like sit in it, and sometimes, like when it is one of those weeks, like I'm like, okay, what can I do that sparks joy? I'm gonna go to a salsa class, or I'm gonna go hang out with some friends and just yap and eat some Mexican food, and I'll be good, And so this season has brought a lot of unknowns, but it's also brought a lot of joys, unexpected joys. And in the past episode, we talked about when you know that you're doing better in life than you think you are, is when you start accepting the little joys, when you start anticipating that good things can happen for you, that things will get better, that you're hopeful again, that maybe you haven't hoped or haven't thought in that way in such a long time. And it's like reframing that. And so that has been helpful in this season. And I wanted to share of a few things that maybe can encourage you to live with intention versus being always on autopilot. And usually that comes with, when you start romanticizing your life, that means that you're slowing down your pace. You are taking things at a much easier pace. And even like as simple as like when you eat your lunch, like sometimes you're like in a rush for everything. You're like, okay, I'm rushing to go to make it to this place. I'm rushing doing my makeup. I'm rushing. It's like, okay, I'm just going to have a slow morning. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to wake up a little bit earlier so that I'm not rushing. And those are little things that help you reset that. Because if you're always on automatic and pilot and you're rushing from one place to the next, it feels like life is getting in front of you and like you're not catching up. And so that has been so helpful to like live with intention and find those little moments. It's like those pockets. It's like you actually being present there and being like, okay, I'm here in this room. I'm in the car. And sometimes for me, like we had an event for She Cultivates this past weekend, and it was our Cultivating Within event, which was about wellness. And we had an amazing turnout. We had an amazing panel that we talked about hormones and our bodies, and just how stress, like how that shows up in our body, and how to be in tune with our body, because sometimes we can miss out on that. And women have a higher tendency to store our stress in our body, right? Like through not through internalize it through stress, through emotional just a neglect that we do to ourselves. And so being able to be intentional and like actually sit with we're feeling, what we're experiencing is so essential. And so after that event, I was a little bit like overstimulated, because after an event, if you already know, like I sometimes need to like go D&D, but it was Easter weekend. So, I had a dinner planned, and then the next day was church and being with family all day. And I'm like, I'm not going to get to Netflix and chill like tomorrow, like I usually do. I'm going to continue, going. But between that moment from when I got to point, like when I left my event to dinner, I just like put my car, like I turned off the radio, like I didn't have any music on, and I just like had a silent car ride. And I was like, all right, like we did that event. Like that was good. Like I was like processing it. Because it's so easy to like just miss those moments, to be like, wow, like I'm grateful that that went well. I had a good time. All right, now like let me center myself before I feel like I'm on on 100 going into something else. And so those are just examples that have helped me to slow down, to be more intentional, to appreciate the little moments in life that sometimes we can get past around. And I know for those of you guys that like going on walks, right? Like now that it's springtime, summertime, like having those intentional moments to go on those slow walks, either in the morning or in the afternoon. And those are the things that can help you change your perspective when it comes to how you see things in those seasons that you have. So making a list, like my challenge this week is to find your spark of joy. Find your joy in this week, little things that you can do, little moments that you can like take a pause and be like, maybe you're around your kids and you're like, this is chaotic, there's a mess, there's all this, but it's like, okay, like let me have a moment to just take it all in. Or maybe after all of them go to sleep, then I get to have a moment for myself. Or maybe it's like on your rush from one thing to the next, it's like taking a moment to just take it all in. Like, I'm so thankful that I get to do this, and wow, like reflecting on the things that you're doing. So I hope that this was helpful. This is a short and sweet episode, but we have a lot of things, exciting things that are happening within our community. And if you want to be a part of it, make sure to check out our Patreon community, which we just launched. And we are doing an episode on there when it comes to just helpful tips for you to cultivate your best self. And we actually posted some content from our February event that you can get exclusively only on our Patreon community, as well as just other content that we are creating on She Cultivates ORL and Elizabeth Sabi. And so if this was just a reminder for you to take it slow this week, find your joys, find your sparks of in your week, then do so, because maybe that can be something that you can share with us on social media and tag me if you do. It's finding my joys for the week, and those little moments that you were able to take in that made you feel good, that were small moments that you decided to romanticize your life in despite of what's going on in your life. So I hope this was helpful. And if you do, make sure to tag me at Elizabeth Sabi, and I will see you guys next week.